It's only when breaking down the tubs that I question my sanity and my judgment for doing this each year. Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and I'm standing here in the midst of chaos because the end of the summer tubbing season is officially upon me here in Zone 6B. What that means is I have to move all of these plants that were out here in my yard into the greenhouse to overwinter them so that I can use them next year. I need to winterize the lilies, I need to clean up my mess, and I need to flip the tubs so that they're not collecting water all winter, as well as debris. Now, if you don't have... Oh! There's a frog! Whew. Now, if you don't have a greenhouse, you can overwinter your plants in a garage. You can overwinter them over the overturned tubs, which I've done many years in the past. Before I had my greenhouse, I would simply place all the plants underneath those, put the tub over top. It would create a humid environment that was nice for the plants and a little bit of insulation against the winter temperatures that I get here. Can't believe that frog scared me so much. I have no idea where it came from. Clearly the plants. Anyway, so today we're going to be moving everything into the greenhouse. I'm going to show you how I chop it back closely. I know I went over it briefly in my last video. And then everything is pretty much done out here except for the bog garden, and that will wait until the first frost. Now, if you're interested in seeing the bog again or how to winterize it, make sure you subscribe to my second channel, Plantaholic, because I'll be going over that in detail there. For today, let's get all this stuff into the greenhouse and get to work. You scared me. I move the plants over a wheelbarrow load at a time. I have a bucket to put the composted plants into, and all I do is literally cut around the plants, remove any of this excess root growth. It just makes it easier to repot them in the spring. Chop them off a little bit above the crown. And what this does is it just reduces the mass of the plant and makes it less likely to get all full of mold and fungus as it overwinters. In the spring they come back really nicely. So then I'll plop this in a tub and move on to the next one. It is a labor of love. Even these taros, which are supposed to not be cold tolerant, come back. I leave this dwarf parrot's feather as is. It does fine. I'll also remove any leaf litter or dried algae, etc. that are on these. Some of these have been sitting dry in my yard. I expect they'll come back regardless. Quite frankly, I have so many plants that I'm not particularly concerned whether they all come back or not. However, historically they always have. Ouch. So again, just chop everything back. Toss it in the bins. Rinse and repeat. This is a good example of having to remove roots and excess plant growth. You can see how cool these floating planters are. They allow the roots to grow through them, which is why part of the reason they do so well. This Hydrocotyledon undulata was a particular favorite this year. That and the sunset loosestrife, which I showed you early in the season. I have probably 4 or 5 wheelbarrow loads of plants to do. Precision is not important here. My last video, someone asked about the creeping Jenny. I just leave it and it always comes back as well. I'm sure that there are many different methods you could use to overwinter these plants. Previous years I've put my lilies in my basement. I've put them in the garage. It really doesn't matter. I just put them in dark black trash bags. We'll talk more about that in a bit. I'm going to go ahead and finish up all these loads. Then we'll bring the lilies over, talk about that, and I'll show you the end result. See the roots? It's crazy. Part of the reason why summer tubbing and growing plants is so successful. And I do particularly like these Laguna floating baskets. I think they're really affordable, easy to use, and the plants just grow like bonkers. I think it's important to mention that the vast majority of the plants I work with are not rated for my zone. So treating them like this really is what ensures that they come back each year. For the lilies, it's much of the same, although I think I'm going to try something new this year. Normally, I put them in black trash bags. I think this year I'm going to put them in a tub and just cover them with plastic and see if that works. Just because these suckers are really heavy, and I have about a dozen different lilies, and I think that'll be easier and maybe take up less space. So I'll go ahead and trim them all back, dump out the water, put them in a tub and cover them with some plastic, and then we'll take a look inside the greenhouse. So this is the end result of all the plants. I ended up with 4 completely full bins and one that has the plants that were in my different waterfall features. These are both super tropical. They both came back last year, so I'm hopeful they will again this year. I'm just adding some water to that tub. And then I took a contractor bag and just fit it over the top of all the lilies. This will allow me to peek at them easier in the spring when they start growing, to be able to move them outside and really give them a jump start. But that's pretty much it. And I might stop out here a few times throughout the winter to check on things to make sure that the tubs aren't completely dry. But for the most part, it's just a matter of waiting for time to pass at this point. And keeping an eye out for any fungus or mold. If you should see that, you may need to use something like sulfur powder. I don't like to do that because that's super toxic to fish and invertebrates, and it makes a lot more work for me in the spring. Anyway, I hope everyone is staying safe and staying healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.